Okay, here we are. It's James speaking, trainingsites.io. Got another live webcast every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. These are open classrooms, live Q&A. I just rant if I don't get any questions. But if you are on, even for the first time, or if you've been here before, please in the comments, give me a thumbs up. Let me know if the sound is okay, everything's good. And of course, throw questions in as many as you want about anything to do with using AI to teach online and start, build, and grow education businesses. So that's kind of what these are about. And I'll do my best to answer the questions as quickly as I can. And if I don't know the answer, we'll kind of play around, experiment. And if you have some other things you want to look at or other tools that you've used that you want to share, that would be great as well. So again, these are completely ad hoc, unscripted, uh, play as you go kind of things. I do have stuff that obviously I like to talk about, and I will rant a little bit if there aren't any questions, but I do want questions. So please put them in the chat so I can see them, and I'll be do my best again to answer them as quickly as possible. So I got a couple people here that are just coming on at the bottom there. Okay, let me just go. Just getting someone else here on. Just someone else is trying to get on here, so I'm just helping them. There we go. Okay. So what do we got for questions? Who's on here? Who joined in today? What do we got? Anyone here? Where's anyone from? Let me know. I'll just rant if you don't give me any questions or don't let me know. There's a thumbs up, so we got some good sound. Excellent. Who's here with us? Come on. Don't be afraid to share. Actually, one of the things that, if you're doing any of this membership site stuff, one of the things that you find that's interesting, I'm just going to get my head better shaped here and just do it maybe a little bit smaller if I can do that. One of the things that's kind of interesting is that anytime you do these membership sites or anything along these lines, it's really hard to get people to, I don't know if engage is the right word, but sometimes people are just afraid to talk or afraid to ask questions and they lurk, whether that be on a community site or a membership site. And I think it's like one of the big challenges that you have if you're building out these community sites is trying to figure out, like, how do you get people engaged? How do you get people to share what's going on? And I think actually the video, I think I have two videos kind of in the hopper now for the channel. And one of them is just that, is actually creating some agents to go and actually engage people in and on the community instead of having to do it yourself. And I think, the big thing that's happening in this whole space for the education space is the ability of building out these communities where people can get in and say, hey, this works, or hey, this doesn't work, or I tried that. This part I like, this part I didn't like, and get feedback from other people. Because it's just too hard to keep up otherwise with everything that's going on. So, if you do have a tool, if you do have something that you've used in the past, hey, let me know, and we'll go from there. So come on, we got 6 people on, not a single question. No one has anything that they want to talk about when it comes to AI. Stuff happens hourly. There's got to be something new you want to go there and talk about. And if not, what I can do, um, yeah, one of the things I get asked about is this whole business aspect of education. So I was doing some of that. The I'm just trying to help someone on here uh, who's text messaging me. So I'm just going to do this. There we go. So hopefully they'll be able to get in with that. Okay, so this whole business aspect of what's actually happening in the education space, I'm in a unique, not a unique position. I'm in a position where I came from the marketing and course creation side of it, and I have a lot of people who are in the formal adult education side, educational, institutional learning, that kind of thing, and teaching. So I've got these two kind of different groups of people that have similar interests, but I think they both have a problem. And that's why the part with AI is getting really interesting on how are we actually going to use and leverage these tools to be able to be able to take advantage of AI and leverage it. So let me just see what. So any questions here? Let me see. Oh, we got someone on. Perfect. Okay. Hey, Dean, thanks. No meeting questions. Highlight some of the cool resources on your website. Yes, we can certainly do that. Um, there. I'm just going to try one more time to help this person on. There we go. Go to YouTube. Last thing. There we go. Okay. So yeah, so here's kind of the part with the business aspect that we're running into. And this is one of the videos actually that I have coming. It'll probably be later today. These are just my rough notes on it. So I'm just going to touch on it, but I'll do a separate video on this moving forward. So I think what's happening for all of us in this entire space is that there's kind of a decision that we have to make. And this is a business decision. So, the business decision, and this is the one that's interesting in terms of what's happening with agents. I've been playing around with building out these campuses and also these vibe or throwaway apps and building apps for education things. But from a business perspective and a, slash teacher course creator, the part that I think is going to be more interesting, at least in the next, 6 to 12 months, is going to be this whole thing about agents. And I think we're going to have to make a personal choice if we want to be a creator, which is what everyone on the internet seem to want to be as a creator and focus on creating good content and focusing on creating our own content. I think we're going to have to make a big shift or make a decision as to, do we want to let the AI agents do the creation of all of this content that we maybe did in the past? And are we going to become the conductor of organizing our agents or our digital employees on what we want them to create and not get too involved in the weeds in creating courses? I think that shift from creator to conductor, that is the big difference. It's like being an employer or an employee. Both of them are fine, but you just have to make a decision on which of the things do you want to be the employer and which of the things that you want to be the employee. Like, do you want to assign the work to someone or do you want to assign the work to yourself? And I'm talking about things like, for example, as learning how to prompt. Learning how to prompt and prompt engineering and now context engineering, I think is a really interesting thing to learn. And I think everyone should learn it. But if you're going to have employees, these AI agents that you can, digital employees that you can give a task and they will complete the task, and you don't have to figure out how they complete it or walk them through completing it. They're able to do it by themselves once we give them a specific outcome that we want to have them do. Like, do we want to be that person that is figuring out the best prompt to use or to copy and paste any of these things? So, any of these tasks where there's steps in a process that we can hand off to someone in a different department in our company or in our campus or in our education business, we're going to have to kind of figure out which are the ones we want to do and which are the ones we don't want to do and which are the ones that we actually should do. And in fact, the reason I started playing around with this is this idea that we have to have a AI org chart. What are the things, if you have yourself in the business or two or three people in the business, or maybe you're in a particular department of an institution and you have to figure out which are the things that I want to do, which are the things that I can hand off to an AI agent to be able to do it, and more importantly, what is it that I need them to do and how, or what is the outcome that I want from them? So that's kind of what I'm playing around with personally. And then the big shift here is we got to, figure out, am I going to be a creator or am I going to be a conductor? And the big problem, and again, this is in a whole video that I'll do, but the big problem is there's three things that have changed, in my opinion. The first one is that now, the internet came along, everyone has access to all of the same information, so there's no content for all intents and purposes that is unique anymore. Yes, you may structure it a little bit together, but it's an even playing field for everyone. Social media is the second part. That gave everyone a way to distribute and build an audience and leverage the fact that they gained access to everyone. And then now we have this AI stuff, which has these agents that give us the ability to create, automate, outsource almost everything that we don't have to do ourselves. So we have these three different things are happening. And if we're thinking about, yeah, I want to, create a course, or I want to create a traditional course, or I want to focus on doing that, and I want to use AI, and I want to use social media, and I'm, going to deliver it on the internet. It's all available to me. I think it's going to be very hard to differentiate yourself. So that's kind of a business decision that we're all going to have to make on that. And the part again that from a business perspective, and again, this is just the research that I've been doing and thinking. I've been a huge fan of this whole idea of building out communities, or having a community as the way to, I don't know if I want to call it a moat, but at least a community as a way to take that audience that might be interested in your story or that shared space, and be able to build out your own community. And the reason this is important, I think, in the age of social media and all of this AI stuff, is that typically you needed a sales page, or the way to sell people or persuade people on the internet and in social media to get them to do anything. And right now, I think what's happening is this whole idea of having your own community, your own campus from a business perspective. That is the persuasion. That is the way that you sell now, is by inviting people into your community that attracts similar people with a similar interest, and builds up the trust and rapport that maybe you did in the past by posting to social media for ages, or doing all sorts of emails, or sending ads so people become comfortable with your name and your offers, by giving out free ebooks and doing these webinars where you pitch stuff. I don't think that there's going to be an overwhelm because of those three things: internet, AI, and social media. That stuff's there. So how are you going to be able to stand out and persuade and influence people? I think it's going to be this whole idea of having a business community. And that's from a business perspective. If you're going to build a community, you have to kind of decide, am I going to be the creator, or am I going to be the conductor in the community? And that's one of the big things, for me when I think about it, and why I call it a campus or a learning community, is if it was a membership site, it would be, I, as the membership site owner, would be responsible for the content. And many people become a member of a membership site and pay for a membership site is because there's always new content coming in. I think in terms of a campus, I'm looking for, and again, trainingsites.io, I'm looking for other people's stories. I don't want to be the one that gives all of the information or creates all the information. I want to encourage uh, I want to encourage you guys to, hey, what did you try? What worked? What tool are you using? What tool, was able to help? Which one wasn't able to help? But it's all about, how do I start, build, and grow an education business? How do I use AI to leverage learning for people? That community with live classes, with live workshops, where we get into the whole notion of, how do I apply or implement this stuff? That's the part that replaces the traditional course, which was like a static, here it is, here's my content, here's the action items, go and do it. So being held accountable, being able to implement and apply this stuff in a shared space, and focusing on transformations. This, I think, is the education market, and it's coming to a head now because of AI agents. So again, this is the video that I'll be doing after this one in a little more detail, but I think it's an interesting discussion because, I have some people here who are just going, hey, I want to learn how to use AI. I want to learn how to prompt. I have other people here that say, hey, I just want to make sure that, I can um, create a course or syllabus, or I want to know how to create a quiz with AI, what prompt to use. And those are all valid questions, but if you're thinking about it from a business perspective, and I'm talking about if you're in a faculty or a department, it's at a school, it's like you've got these kids coming to school, or these other adults coming to school, and there's just wild tools that are available that replace you as the expert. And again, I've covered a couple of them in the last couple of weeks. These are coming quickly, very, very quickly. And some of the ones, just the AI agent ones, were people with glasses now, with pendants, with wristwatches. Everything is coming now where we're going to have this AI assistant live with us, 24/7, personalized one-on-one. So where are you going to fit that in? Are you going to be a creator and hope that you can answer a question they have, or are they going to go to AI and answer it themselves? If you're going to focus on, hey, I'm going to be a membership site owner and push, push, push content, or I'm going to go and find out what everyone else is doing in my space, what's working, what's not working, so I can avoid all the overwhelm of trying to figure it out by myself. So these are just kind of cool things that I'm thinking about, and hopefully, you may consider, hey, I got to think a little bit bigger than this, a little bit bigger, and also a little bit faster, because that's the other piece that I think people don't recognize is that this stuff is happening. It's happening quickly, and it's not going to slow down at all, not even close to slowing down, which is kind of the cool part. So there's my little rant for today. Again, I'll get more on this here. No hair. Well, hey, I think we're on the same page there. No hair. Interested in using AI to teach students how to combine uh, econometric models with machine learning. Any suggestions? Uh, why would every person need an agent? From Doug. Okay. Um, how to use AI to teach students how to combine econometric models with machine learning? Any suggestions? Okay. So that's from No Hair. I think you're here first time. Thank you very much for coming on. Um, I don't have a perfect answer for you because I haven't seen this one before, but this is one of the things that I think is interesting for some of these complex kind of situations. And let me do this because I've talked to some of the other members about this, and I think based on the question, I would it sounds to me as if you're in a higher education or not a traditional buy my course kind of business. So one of the things again that I'm seeing that I think is the way that it's going to go when we're teaching people is let me see if I can get my video pencil working here today. So this might be a little bit easier to hopefully explain here. And again, this is my personal view on it. Is it the right one? I have no idea. But I think this is what I've seen in, especially from Google. One of the things that I think everyone has to pay attention to is Google. Google, I think, is not a search company anymore. They're a learning company. And again, I do have a video on that one coming out. I think they've made the transition from search to learning and an education company. And I think in the last year they gave $1 billion for this year, $1 billion investment in education and formal education. So I think they're all in on it. All of the tools and services that we're seeing that are in Workspace and all of the other tools that are specific to Google that are focused around creativity and education. I think Google is the one to watch. But I know they just spent $1 billion on education, and I know they also made the pro level. They have a Gemini Pro, I think, for school. They gave it this year to the students for the next 18 months. Now I think it's for this next school year. Um, um, it's available, and they're just jamming it down everyone's. I don't know want to say jamming it down everyone's throat, but this is they're going to have all these tools. The point is they're going to have all of the same tools that we're talking about. The students have these tools. So this is what I think is happening. And this is for both people who are selling courses and people who are teaching courses. I think the exact same thing is in place here. Um, here's the kind of big piece is that I think that everyone is going to be using the AI tools. So if it's a given that everyone's using AI, when it comes to learning, when it comes to buying courses, I'm assuming now that everyone has or will have access to AI and at least some of these tools. And I know sometimes the tools are locked down, but I think it's, people say, no, you can't use ChatGPT here or in this business or in this institution. I don't think you're going to be able to block that to the extent that it is now. Just for example, wearables, like if you've got a pair of eyeglasses on and there's the Facebook interface or the Gemini interface, and Apple is the one to watch on the hardware side. I think they're making a hardware play. They're letting go of the AI side. They're just going to focus on consumer hardware. I think that's going to be announced next month when they have their hardware announcement. I'm just guessing, but that's what I've kind of been reading and researching. But I'm assuming that everyone has AI tools and access to AI tools. So that's kind of the first thing. Um, the second thing is that the content is not the part that you should worry about teaching. So what I'm suggesting is that you give the prompts, you give the tools, you give the AI work to people beforehand, and then you help them after they've created their own content or organized their own content. And then that focus is not on, making sure they don't use AI and trying to make sure they're not cheating, or making sure that you create a quiz, or that you create a lesson plan, or that you create a perfect curriculum, or that you create the perfect handout or worksheet, something like that. I'm thinking that from here, it's what you focus on. And again, I've used the word use cases before, but it's about real life applications. And it's all about how do I implement it in unique situations. So I'm just trying to make that. Again, this video pencil, sometimes I get the spacing wrong. Let me change the pencil too. Uh, so it's more about, implementing and applying it. So how you do that in the class, you break stuff down into groups. You get people to do live presentations. You get them to present their work. So it's not about you creating content anymore. It's about you kind of guiding people with your experience through the work that they've done on possible outcomes, or at least get them to question, hey, I came up with this content. I used AI to get this. The content is there. This is how I think it's applied. And then it's our job as a course creator, and that's if you're selling courses, same thing. It's like, here's the content. Let's do a live class. Let's do a cohort. Let's do a workshop. Let's go and actually work on the stuff and then see what works and see what doesn't work, or see if it applied in this situation and if it doesn't apply in this situation. So the only reason I'm saying this is you had a question and it was kind of like, how do I use AI to teach students how to combine these models with machine learning? And again, I don't have access to what resources that you're using, but for me, I'm thinking it's like, hey, give people the project and the work to do beforehand, and actually have them come and present it or work on it in groups, and have them actually present it and create stuff and build stuff and try stuff, and use the AI tools to be able to check on themselves. I don't know what econometric models are. Machine learning, same idea. I'm sure there's things that you could teach, or frameworks or stories that you could uh, 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 work through, but that's kind of the way that I think that it's going to start moving. And the example that I came up with, and I've used this one before, if and just think, go and ask ChatGPT. Just say, look, I want to be able to teach this particular, idea, the thing that I teach, or the course that I want to have, or the transformation I want to provide. Just say, look, what are some good examples of ways that I could give pre-work to someone that I would be able to use as an example or a use case or an application in my actual live teaching class, whatever you want to call it. The example that I came up with that I thought was a really cool one was if someone's teaching cybersecurity, and you're teaching cybersecurity, the thing was about, you're teaching a lesson on phishing emails. So what you do is either create a mini app, again, some of the AI things, and you send out an email to the students, and it's a phishing email. So you send it out, and then you come to the class, you go to the class, and from the students who fell for the phishing email, who opened the email, who clicked on a link in the email. You can then talk about all of the cool stuff that you can pick up from, hey, you have 50 people in the class, 22 of you guys clicked the link. Why was that? What is the psychology behind it? What are the mechanics? What are the things and stories? So it's not about, creating a lecture on this is a phishing email, this is the characteristics of it. It's like, hey, you guys fell for it. You guys are susceptible to it. But that's using an AI widget or tool or agent to kind of set those out, and then you're actually having a discussion about it, or just working in work groups saying, how come it worked, how come it didn't work, what are different applications of it, what are different styles, where they have to go and present it to you back. So any of these on complex ones, and again, I don't know your particular market or situation, but I think focusing on getting them to create the content, you using some of these throwaway apps that can be done now with some of the tools, that you know, that we've probably been hearing about, like Lovable and Bolt and V.0, where these are like you can build mini apps just by texting into them. There's a couple ones now that you know, that don't require you to be an expert in connecting all of these things. It's basically using text and it goes to connect them. The one that I'm waiting for is Google Opal, which is like drop dead simple to be able to create those kinds of things. So let me just go. Let me just go. We'll do another one. I want to answer Doug's one. Why would every person not need an agent? Um, I don't know. You know, for avatars, uh, the ones that have come out in the last little while, I'll show you the two that I'm aware of. I think they're going to be coming out really, really, really quickly. Let me just open these ones up because just to show you what I mean by an avatar. I think there's two kind of avatars. I think there's a business opportunity with avatars. I'm just going to open up my browser here. And there's two that I'm aware of. The one that's kind of interesting is there's Grok. Grok has one. Elon has one, and it's a companion. So they call it Grok's AI companion. And these ones are, this was the one that that was the one that I actually shared. Yeah. So these ones are almost like anime characters, and they have personal companion conversations with you. I think these ones are working a little bit more on the adult side. However, this is someone that can interact with you personally one on one. So this is a particular companion. On the other hand, you go and take a look at Google, and I did a video on this one here, but if you go to labs.google/experiments, this is the one that I think is interesting from a teaching perspective. And here's the first one. So again, there's a video here on the channel. This one's called Portraits. And this one is expert knowledge delivered by AI coaches, starting with a personalized AI-powered coaching experience built alongside, and in this case, an author. So this one, we have a avatar that is a one-on-one, your avatar only, but it is a subject matter expert. And that person, that avatar is with you all of the time in your browser. Maybe they show up in your glasses, your Android XR glasses or your Meta glasses, or the ones that are coming out in the last week. I've seen two other vendors that are coming out with AI powered glasses. But this is someone there that's has a microphone. You have the microphone, you can see them, you can talk to them, conversations with them, and any of the responses that they have are specific, in this case, to the book and their area of expertise. And they did a couple of examples. But the avatars there, the question is, how do I train them? And that's not difficult anymore. It's not difficult at all. And being able to have your personal expert and a personal, personal tutor, whatever course that you're doing, you've now got AI. If you're doing those economics ones and you're playing around and say, okay, you know, I'm going to do econometric models with machine learning, you've got glasses with a camera in them that can look at the textbook, understand an equation or something that's on the page, and you've got now someone to talk to about the contents of the page. These are all multimodal, and we've now got a tutor that is smarter than our course can be, or in many cases, any of the textbooks that we're using. So that avatar thing, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, I think we're going to see a lot of avatars. And there's a business opportunity there, because if you have content that you want to put into your own avatar, you can create an avatar. Some of those tools are available already, but you can license your avatar, license it to someone else's site. If you're a subject matter expert, license it and be able to monetize it. It's your content, it's your value, it's you and your expertise in frameworks that are helping individual people, but it's one-on-one and it's personal. The questions that you ask, the questions that I ask, the question that someone else asks are all unique, but they're answered based on another person being there that has all of this cool information. So I think everyone's going to have an avatar, multiple ones or just one really smart one. But this includes the students or the people that are taking your course, right? You spend a couple months putting together courses, creating videos, tutorials, quizzes, handouts, cheat sheets, all of that stuff, and then you got an avatar that has all of that they can just talk to. So there's a big problem. There's a huge problem, and that's why I'm worried and excited about that shift between I'm going to be a creator of content versus I'm going to bring all of these pieces together for some kind of experience. That's just me kind of going on it, but hey, we'll see what happens there. Patrick's got another great question there. I hope that helped, No Hair. And Doug, if that helped, that would be great. Patrick's saying, as an author, I'm still attached to my content uh, and it being protected. It bothers me that it can be scraped so easily. Surely AI can develop its own way of protecting an educator's content. Personally, I don't know the answer to that. I'm not really quite sure. It is something that's going to happen. I don't know if, it's like you have to say, yeah, it's probably going to happen. How am I going to leverage that and take advantage of that? Or how am I going to, make sure that I tighten it down as fast as I possibly can? But scraping content, I think, is a huge problem. And I'm not sure of any content that can't be scraped in some way or another. The ones that I came out, and this is just, I'll give you a good example of this. There's two things that have come up recently that make me think about this. Is the first one is Perplexity Comet. I did a video earlier on the week on this one. And this one is basically you have a browser that has AI built into the browser. So AI isn't going to a website. This is AI is the browser. So that, and it works, it's built on Chromium, which is Chrome, the open source version of Chrome, works exactly the same way. But if you are on a website, and that website can be a logged one that's logged in, username and password, it's your private content. Someone paid for a month or someone paid to download a book or something that you wrote personally. And they have this particular browser, and it's not the only one. There's a whole bunch of them that are available now. And technically, they're available on ChatGPT, for example, the agent. The other one that I played around with is from GenSpark. Manus is another one. And they basically have a browser that you can download, and it goes and logs in and uses the content or can scrape the content or answer or ask questions about the actual content. And this is, if you're teaching courses and you've got an LMS or learning management software, you've created a video, you've created the content, you put this all together, someone is using Comet or one of these AI browsers, that content in your course is just content that someone can have a side panel, and it kind of works like this one here. I'll show you how that actually works. This one here, we'll pull it up here. If you look on the left hand side here, I'll try and make that a little bit bigger. But on this one here, it's like you've got an AI tool built directly in the browser. So it doesn't matter if it's a YouTube video, if it's a document, if it's an image, you basically just ask in the side panel, that assistant, what does this do? How do I apply it? Give me some examples of it in use. What are other resources or things that work with it? So these are coming out. They're here now. You can go download Comet and play around with it. That's what I'm doing later today because I downloaded it. I'm just going to install it. GenSpark is the same idea where you have its own browser, but this one is already set out to go and output stuff in sheets, in documents, to create images, to create AI videos directly in the browser just by you going to look at them. So, it's going to be difficult, I think, Patrick, to kind of protect stuff. You have to figure out how you're actually going to do this. And I don't know. It's a huge problem and a huge question for people. So it's going to be really interesting to do that. Now, I'm going to show you a tool right now that I use on a regular basis. And it's one, if you want to, is if you go to YouTube as an example, and I'll just open up YouTube right here, and we'll just do it because Nate's got some really cool stuff here. So I'm just going to open up Nate. This is kind of high level stuff. It's one of the guys that I follow. and he's got a daily strategy thing for AI. But if you look in the top right-hand corner here, I've got a little extension, and this one is an instant data scraper. So it has access to the site. I can click it, and now the example that I did on this one is I have links to all of the YouTube videos that are here, and I can save it as a CSV file, a spreadsheet, or just copy all. And I can go and scroll through any page that I'm on just with this simple extension. So, any content that you have easily scrapable, this is free to use. And that's just an instant data scraper. And if you want to, go and use another tool as an example, there's the, excuse me, the YouTube transcript IO, which is a free tool. And all you have to do is put a URL in. I put this one in, and I basically get the timestamp transcript of it. So there's a simple example of, you've got content, it's available to everyone. There's nothing that I'm aware of that really can protect it. And if there's an AI agent, if they have access to log into a site, they have access to scrape the content. So it's a tough question. I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea, but we're going to all have to deal with it. So hopefully that doesn't, hopefully that helps, even though it's maybe the answer that you don't want. And if you have other ideas, love to hear about them, kind of share them, because I think, there's a lot of people that are dealing with that. There's one other thing I'm going to show you. Let me just dismiss intellectual property. Yeah. Yeah. Recall AI is another good one. Thanks, Dean, for that one. This is one, again, I've not played with it too much. And that's not it's get recall, sorry. This one actually allows you it's got a browser extension, if I'm not mistaken, as well. And basically it summarizes things and then maps them all together so that you have a reference of what's connected, what's not connected, what's related, what's not related, and it's not just tags. So they have a visual way to actually go and start playing with that. And I know there's a number of people in the AI space that use this, for example, just to keep track of their YouTube videos that they're doing, or different research that they've been doing and maybe how they get connected. So if you're on a blog post or a podcast or watching a YouTube video, or you've done some research or you've saved some documents and you want to find out, oh, maybe they're connected and you didn't even know, or maybe which of the ones or which site was that, you can now go and actually play around with that one. So if you've done videos on this one or want to share your experience with it, I'd love for you to put it into the trainingsites.io. I'll open that one up just in case you haven't. And again, if you haven't joined, you're watching this, trainingsites.io/join. Please come in, share your story, share your stuff. Would love to hear about it. Anything that has to do with starting, building, growing an education business. And I do have a whole space dedicated on this one. Looks like I'm not signed in. So I'll sign in with my fake account here because I opened up the browser. But if you look, if you've got tools and resources here, put them in. Let us know what you've been doing or not doing, wins and celebrations. If you created a course, if you've got a mini app or agents that you put together and you want to put them together, perfect. Go and put those in. Again, share your work. There's something to learn from everyone here. One thing I did get asked, and this is something as I've been talking personally about creating these mini apps with tools like Lovable and Bolt.new, where you basically have a text conversation, a chat, and it builds out these apps. There's one from Google called Firebase, which is all in the Google ecosystem. And someone has asked, okay, let's say I create one of these tools. How do I deploy it so people get access to it? Interesting thing for me here is when this YouTube transcript, which is this tool here that was put together, one of the things that I noticed when I was playing around with it, and there is a Chrome extension for this one as well. I think, yeah, one of the things that I noticed, let me see if I can find it. One of the things that I noticed is that this app is built on Firebase. So this is something that someone vibe coded or vibe put together, and they've created an application that is more than a mini app, but they created it in Firebase and basically published it to Firebase. And the two things that are here that don't normally happen when you kind of create these apps with not being able to deploy them publicly is that in this case, you have to use a username and password to authenticate yourself, and they've got Stripe in for a paid option. So, that one's in Firebase. V.0 from Vercel, they have a really good platform. Basically, you can set up a database, set up Stripe, and a way to authenticate or log in. It keeps track of them, and you can deploy it and put your own domain to it. So, if you're serious about that application part, that's one of the ways that people do it, is using a tool that I was talking about, or one like Firebase. And this is like a fully functional application that was built. And there's actually a couple. I do have a couple members that actually built. It's another tool called Base 44 that was just bought by Wix, the hosting company that does that. WordPress easy slash WordPress competitor. They bought Base 44. It builds complete applications as well and host them on Wix with your own domain as an example. So, people are doing that. Does it fit into education? Is it something you need to do? That's another part of the business that's available to people. So, um, yeah. So, Greg, we think you're ahead of the curve. Do you have stories or examples of company personal conductor who has integrated community development and monetization successfully? Yes and no. Um, I do have examples of people who are well respected in the digital marketing space who um, have completely closed down their course part of their business. And the one that comes to mind right off the bat, there's a couple of them. Uh, and I think this one will show up here. I'm just pulling this one up here. Yeah, so here's one here, and this is just an example of a bigger vendor who was actually doing. They had a lot of courses, and I'm talking about $495, $995 courses. And until recently, this business, the digital marketer business, was all about creating and selling courses and cohorts. Now, if I take a look here, there's not really too much of a focus on doing or selling a particular course. So they've moved from more of a here's the content, but here's the strategy, implication, or implementation and application of it. And again, this was $1 million company, and in my understanding, again, if I'm wrong, I apologize, but my understanding is that they move this lab part to basically experimentation and playing around with stuff, as opposed to here's your content, figure it out on yourself. So this is one they've kind of transferred stuff over. I'm sure they still have courses, but in terms of the marketing, it's not, hey, we have a launch party. I spent a month putting this course together. Hey, buy my course. I think a course is something that is a little bit smaller now. That's one that jumps to mind as well. There are a number of other people in the space from the digital marketing side that are moving away from courses and focusing on the whole idea of a community and live classes and live courses. And I think, one of the ones, unfortunately, I think it's limiting, but, the ones that are doing a good job of marketing in that, if you look at a lot of the people, and again, this is the thing, if you're looking at school as an example, some of the ones that are here, and these ones, the focus is giving away a lot part of the content, but what they're doing is, you have the courses here, some of them locked, some of them not, but they're actually selling the events, the webinars, the live training, where they're basically working with people trying to get it on. It's like, here's my content, but let's work together on it. So let's actually say, hey, here's your stuff, go do the work, but You're going to work on your site. What are the problems that you're running into? What is it that you need to focus on? Do you have a unique situation that isn't covered by a course or a static course? And especially with all of the AI stuff, I don't think you can keep up. I know I can't keep up just trying to keep track of all of the new stuff that happens daily. But to create a course as an example on how to use AI, use AI this morning or use AI this afternoon. It's just happening really quickly. So I think the opportunity is, if you're in the education space, this is the part that I'm buckling down on personally, as I'm trying to do as much live stuff and do more live stuff for paid members, as opposed to doing the stuff where I'm trying to sell courses and get people persuaded enough with a sales page or teasers or opt in to say, hey, buy my static course. Even though it might be a great course, might be great content, but I don't think people are finishing them anymore. They're looking through them. They may find one or two pieces that are appropriate, but from there, who knows? It's like they answer the question and move on. And I'm going to give you a caveat to that one, because I do have a lot of customers that still use learning management systems for doing training and educating people, usually internally in their business, but often it's because they have to provide certification, so that you had a proof of understanding of the content and application of the content, and you don't get to be certified and be part of their business or a reseller or something along those lines. But the LMS is still great, because they've got to be able to recall it, have access to that information. And if they don't get certified. And if they don't get certified, they either don't pass or can't sell the particular content. So there still are some use cases of it, but I think in terms of learning things and applying things, it's well past the static content. And it means having a calendar, having a calendar that goes on and saying, hey, I'm going to be online every Wednesday. This part is free, but every Tuesday we have a working session. The other thing that I'm doing personally, starting to roll out over the next week or two, is I'm going to be doing live classes during the week. They're only going to be short ones to start off with, but these are ones, that you're going to be able to join in as a paid member. This is for my paid members. You're going to be able to go in and basically we'll work on stuff. And it's like, hey, we're doing this now, but we're actually going to run the prompts. We're going to install the software. We're going to create the marketing material. We're going to learn how to do the agents, not taking the course, but actually doing the stuff. And if you're in the teaching space, I think in the education space, and especially a business, we're going to have to be involved. And if you don't like talking to people and you don't like sharing the stuff that you know about, um, I don't know if that's a valid business anymore in the education space. Entertainment, yeah, maybe, but in the education space, not entirely sure there. So, um, I'm working hard personally. I know I'm ahead of the curve on this, and I'm always been kind of ahead of the curve. Like, I like learning about this stuff. The part that I'm so excited about is being ahead of the curve this week. In 6 months is where everyone is at. And that's the exciting part, is this is happening and I don't think people understand how quickly it's happening. I think people are, oh, it'll never, not everyone's using that, or, I'm not really up to speed on it yet. Who is? My customers are, my customers aren't. And to put this in perspective, there's 1 billion people now that are monthly using AI, and some of them don't even know it, but we've got a monthly average user. I think it's called an MAU. But the last time I checked, it was close to a billion people every month are logging into an AI tool. So that's not just North America. It's not Canada. It's not Australia and the UK. It's not France. This is like worldwide. Everyone is doing it. And it's not going to take another 2 years or 3 years before a lot of people are doing it. There's going to be a lot of people doing it in 6 months and 12 months from now. So as people can create their own content, where do we fit in teaching? Where do we fit in learning? Um, as someone can learn on their own with their own assistant. That's why it's going to be, interesting to see what happens. And that's why I'm personally focusing on community and community exclusively. And it's interesting. I was talking to someone this morning that I started off, creating websites all the time and learning how to use WordPress or learning how to use these tools to create wonderful websites. Uh, my gut's telling me, and what I'm doing personally is I'm just doing the community. I'm not getting involved in any of the traditional website stuff. Now, this may not be for you, but I'm just trying to get anyone that I can into the community, into the site. Has nothing to do with being all flashy and design. All of those pieces are kind of, just not as of much interest anymore, especially in WordPress. Like there's still people that build out WordPresses with blog posts and pages and, design and all of these kind of fancy things. I think there's a time and place for it, but in the education space, I think you can get by with a community that has the ability to do, tutorials and workflows and calendar live events, have membership groups and spaces, and then in the odd time, you just want to put in a page, and I'll just show you one page just to show you why I think this is another interesting space. Is that, I have this sales page, a traditional sales page that was done on this WordPress site that has Fluent Community on it. But this sales page, the copy, the layout, the graphics, I did none of it. It was done with a single prompt on Claude, and I copied and pasted the HTML in. So I didn't do any of the design. I gave it my colors, my fonts, said, look, I'm going to have two products. One is monthly, one is yearly. These are the prices. Write the sales page for me. And this is basically what it came up with. Now, obviously, I gave it a little more context about what people are buying, but there's a page, had nothing to do with taking a design course or finding a template. Just whipped up a page, AI tool did it. So if you're going to have a website, I did with someone this morning. One of my other customers was online, and they have a WordPress site, but it's only a 3-page WordPress site. They had two groups of people. So they had a landing page or a home page, and then two sales pages for each of the different markets they were in. They're HTML pages. And it was just basically, Claude, create these pages for this, include the sales copy. This is what I'm offering. These are some of the features and benefits, and it's actually done. So um, this is kind of the space that I think we're going into. And this is, another month from now, if we're here after these 4 of these classes and we go take a look at some of the things that are available, um, who knows what's going to happen. So there we go. So a couple more questions here. Again, sorry if I'm ranting and going on in these things. Hope it's of value. Put more questions in if you want. If you have other tools that you'd like to see, we can go and talk about or work on. The let me just go. We'll open up another ones. Let me just see what we got here. So, Greg implies that asynchronous training model is dead due to AI. I honestly, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen for the education departments and higher learning. The one thing that there's a couple things. If you ever get a shot, I'll show you a YouTube channel that I highly recommend, and we'll do this one. Let me just do, and it's called Moonshots. Let me go here. Yeah, so it's Moonshots with Peter Diomedes, I think
If
is
you
his
think it
name.
might rain later, then
Let me
all you
just
need is
turn
this
this one off.
bearskin
We'll get
heavy
rid of the
storm rain
sound.
jacket. That's
So the part that's interesting is this, when they do stuff, they'll have on people like Eric Schmidt, who was the head of Google, or the guy that was the head of Google DeepMind. And there's a lot of positioning on where things are going over the next little while. And if you get a chance, especially Eric Schmidt from Google, um, this one was here that really made a big difference for me personally. But and even Sam Altman on ones, they're talking about uh, universities not existing in 2 or 3 years. Like, why would you send someone to school? Why would you pay $100,000 for an education that is about a bunch of content? And there's going to be a bunch of pushback from people who are in that space who say, there's all the emotional intelligence and all of the interactions with people and being creative. Um, I don't think you have to go to an institution necessarily to learn those skills. And this is one of the ones that is going to be a real struggle for selling courses or going to school. teaching or trying to monetize your expertise, whether you're a coach or a consultant or a subject matter expert. The whole environment for learning is something that is kind of happening um, underneath our feet like quicksand. And it doesn't matter, if you're standing there, you're lying down, you got snowshoes on or whatever to kind of slow down the sinkage. It's something that is going to be really exciting. And again, this isn't 10 years from now. This is 2 years from now. This is 18 months from now. And Sam Altman was just quoted, I think, last week, I think he was being interviewed, and they were talking about, hey, where am I going to send my kids to school? And that he kind of chirped in, what do you mean school? So this is the stuff people are thinking about, and I'm not really sure what's going to happen, but how it's going to happen. But I think there's going to be some kind of it, or some kind of situation like that where we're all going to have to kind of figure it out. Um, we have referred book publishers and training companies to your. Oh, thank you very much. Got scared. Yeah, changed too much too soon. Um, and I talked to some of the other people, who are members, and we have these discussions about what's happening in the education space. It's still happening in the course space too. If I go for like right now, and again, if you're interested in AI stuff or you're playing around with AI, and you go to your social media feeds right now, and I know for me personally, just you ask yourself or look at it when you go next time. But if you are talking about AI or looking about AI on YouTube or any of the social media channels, right now, the majority of feeds that I get, or the majority of, shorts or TikTok videos or ads on my feeds, is all about how to do prompting. And there's a lot of people from the traditional digital marketing space who are starting into AI because they're starting off at the prompting thing about creating content. And in the last month, I've been like slammed with stuff that is starting now. And it's people that were course creators who are now adding AI to the mix. And it's about creating content, and about this content tsunami that's coming from all of the digital marketers and the people that are there. It's going to be overwhelmed, huge overwhelm with all sorts of content being created. And even things with agents and applications, it's all going to be create, 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 create. If you're in the education space, the formal education space, the students are being exposed to that about creating content and creating as much content as they want. So, it's again one of these situations where we're going to have to do something. What it is, I'm betting on having these communities and doing live sessions. And I'm talking about conferences, live cohorts, giving people the content, giving people the tools because they already have it, and then trying to figure out how do we put it together that makes sense, that they actually learn some of the frameworks and application of the tools and the content that they've created, which is kind of cool. Will it happen? We'll see. We'll see what happens there. Um, yeah, apprenticeship. Patrick. That's a really great question. Um, I had an ad come on this morning for me, and I think in the United States over the next 3 years, I think they said they need 82,000 welders. They need 82,000 welders, and I think they're not graduating like nearly enough to fulfill that need. But that trade is something that is in demand, and they don't have enough supply for it. One of the ones, and I'm glad you mentioned this because, and again, this is one of the ones that I was playing around with. Hopefully, it's here on the screen. No, I don't have it here. I think, I think that AI as a service, or AI skills as a service, and being a generalist from AI, that you can go and sell your AI services. And I'm not talking about education. It could be about education because some people, won't want to learn it by themselves, but they'll want the benefits of it. But having a teaching or an AI teaching skill, or helping people implement it or add it, is just going to be like a trade. And being able to conduct things and understand which pieces go together for a particular company or a particular institution, whether it be a small company or a big company, if you have that skill set, that trade, that trade that you understand, again, there's going to be a huge place to be able to amplify that expertise using AI by conducting all of the tools to get specific tasks. So that one's going to be kind of cool. I think AI as a service or AI skills as a service is going to be a monetization kind of tool that's available there. An apprenticeship, if you want to call it apprenticeship or a trade, yeah, that's exactly what it is. And being really good at specific parts or specific applications of AI and selling that as a service to people, that's going to be interesting. There we go. Uh, so L is in G. Is that LNG, liquid natural gas engineer? The secured stainless steel, 3 times my salary as the project manager of a plant. I was 4 levels above the welders. Yeah, so that was just an ad that I saw today. I don't know if those were the exact stats. The story was that this is one trade that they don't have nearly enough people. And AI is going to be one of those ones about the application of AI, not how to prompt or not how to create an automation. It's about that's the difference between being that employee or that creator or conductor. It's like you're helping a company, you're helping a student. What are the pieces of AI that you need to put in place and organize so that they can go and apply it? Because they're going to want to do it themselves to learn how to do it, learn how to apply it. But then you got to stay kind of a level up from that and treat it more as a skill, I think, as opposed to um, work on strategy of application as opposed to actual application of it. So, any more questions? What do we got for questions? Who else is on here? How many people joined in? We got 14 people. Thank you very much for coming on again. If you haven't been here before, trainingsites.io/join is my free community and campus. It is a work in progress. I'm testing and playing around with all of these ideas that I talk about. I'm really pleased with the way things are going and it's been resonating with people. They can see what's happening. Do I have work to do personally on my own stuff? Yeah, absolutely. Am I learning how to do it and testing how to do it? Yeah, absolutely. And I would love for you to share your story about what's working for you, what's not working for you, and we can kind of work through this all together as a community as opposed to one person saying this is the only way to do something, because that just is not the case now, and it's not going to be the case forever and ever because we've got unlimited digital employees now that are going to be working for us if we choose to go in that particular direction. So what do we got here? Okay, thank you very much, Greg. Appreciate that. Thank you, Patrick. How about prompt engineer? What's my opinion? Michael, good question. I think prompt engineering is I think prompt engineering is a really good place to start and have a thorough understanding of. I think everyone should know how to do prompting. Is prompting on its own enough as kind of, oh, I know how to prompt, I'm good, I'm just going to use the tools like Claude and, Perplexity and ChatGPT and Gemini or GenSpark or any of these tools that come out? If I just know how to prompt really well, will I be able to get everything done? Yeah, I think you will. Understanding prompting, I think it's really important to understand how you can explain yourself and what it is that you want as a response from any of these tools. However, having said that, there's 2 other pieces that are coming into play. Let me just see if I can, again, we'll do it with my pencil, see if I can write this in. Just do it with a do I have the whole pencil here? No, I don't think so. We got a pencil. Where's my pencil? See if I can get this. Oh, it's not going to work. That's fine. Okay, so I think the other one that you'll see a lot of people talking about right now is context engineering. And some of the cool things that came out, for example, with Gemini, which I think is Gemini 3. They're starting to put pieces out of it. GPT-5 had it, but these are these persistent memories that retain the context of your chats across multiple chats so that you're not having to repeat yourself about the situations or what's being applied. And there's a whole bunch of different ways to prompt. And in fact, if you haven't already, what I'll do is, again, I have a whole bunch of prompts that are available here, and I'll show you where they are in the Training Sites campus. I put a whole bunch of examples in, and they're in the trainingsites.io/docs. So I have a whole bunch of videos and a whole bunch of documents that are about doing these prompts. One of the ones that I have is the Teach Prompt Framework, and I try and break things into frameworks. And that one is basically, this one is about how to create content for courses or when you're teaching stuff. And then I did some examples here. So if you want to go through them, it's about, detailed examples, for example, for creating an SEO course. So, going through the framework, and then, using some role-based prompts, conversational prompts, which I think are the most important ones. And I'll explain that in a second, but just having a framework to kind of go through for creating courses. I did another one called Gear. And again, there's a whole bunch of prompt libraries you can go through on this. And these ones are different styles: chain of thought prompting, conversational prompting, role-based prompting, and then mega prompts. These are all things that you should know and understand, and there's a place for each of them dependent on what you want as the response, and also which one uh, pertains to the context that you want to give as an input to it. So I think prompt engineering is really important, but I wouldn't hang my hat on it, because prompt engineering, here's two things just, and again, I've done a couple videos on these ones. Let me see if I can find one of them that you can actually watch, because it is an important one. And it is, I'm going to do conversations. Hopefully I can open this one up. Yeah, there's one that I had here. And again, sorry. One of the ones that's here, I'll try and put it in the link below after this, and it's in the campus. I'll mark it. But prompt engineering is being replaced by conversational prompting. And all of the tools that are coming out now, and all of the large language model tools, and it started with Gemini 2.0 Flash. These are multimodal, so you can have a conversation with the AI agent, and understanding the way to structure your conversation, I think, is important. But to be able to go, I'm a prompt engineer and I know how to text a prompt in, I think we're just going to be talking to people. And if you can explain yourself in a way that allows the context, the outcome, the response, the task that you want done to a digital employee, that is going to be far more valuable than knowing the structure of a specific kind of text prompt. So that's where it's going to be going, in my opinion. You have to remember, the examples of this are already available. I did a video last week. Meta or Facebook, they actually have a wristwatch now that understands your nerve impulses. So you wear the wristwatch and you just think about moving your fingers or moving your arm or moving your hand, and it will actually do that output to AI agents. So this is for machine learning, things like that. You can imagine, moving around or moving fingers, and you've got a robot doing that exact same thing. The examples they did with the Google XR glasses is they had someone walking around with the glasses. The glasses have a camera in them. There's a microphone in the ear, or microphone in it, and speakers. So are you writing a prompt, or are you interacting with the real world and then having the AI actually multimodal, work with you? So these are kind of things about, that's taking prompting to a different place. And again, prompt engineering, I think the structure and understanding what the response is and the tasks that you want done, that's the important part, but not overly on, you can only use, act as if you are an educational instructor or a teacher of physics, or, Albert Einstein, and then this is what I want you to do. I'm not sure where that kind of fits in now, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that and kind of go there. Okay, Is it a matter if the conversation is in English or other languages? I don't have a 100% sure answer at this point. However, I think it's multilingual. And here's the reason that I say that. The one thing that came out just as again from experiments. Let me just open up Gemini. I'm going to open up Gemini here, and you can try this. Again, this is a video I did earlier this week or on the weekend. I'll open this one up for you. This is, we'll do it this way too. So this one is Gemini. I'm just going to open up Gemini, and I'm right now on, I have the paid version of Google Workspace, so it's here. But if you look on Storybook here on the left-hand side in Gems, you should be able to see it. See where it says Storybooks here? The storybooks, this is just out, it's experimental. This is one, and I created, using this one, I created an explainer video. Actually, the video was just put up, the one that I did here. But this one creates storybooks up to 11 pages. But right now there's 35 languages. You can create a storybook in 35 languages. And this is something that just came out. It's marked as an experiment. Let me minimize it again. So you'll notice it says Storybook Experiment. This is from the labs, but you can go and create videos. It creates the graphics, the text, the script, everything based on what it is that you want to do. And I did one here just to create one. Don't have the export. Oh, that was, I was trying to do it. Trying to export one. Didn't figure that out yet. Let me see if I've got one. Just looking for the one that I had. The point I was trying to get across is that these ones are actually, is this one working? There we go. So here's one basically that created an explainer video. It's got the narration to it, and you can just say, I want it in French, I want it in Spanish, I want it in Portuguese, I want it in Mandarin, I want it in Japanese, and it'll actually go and create the book and the text with it. And this is one, you know, if you get a chance to play around with it, you can give it the script, you know, just say, Gemini, here's the script that I want. Like this is an onboarding video that I want to play for people. You can give it images that will actually create images based on the image that you've given it or images that you've given on it. And again, this is one that I just did on the art of conversation. And you can do all sorts of things with that, but it's multilingual. So it's creating graphics, text, and the narrations are multilingual, and that's available now. So that's kind of the thing that I think is happening all over. I don't see why it wouldn't be multilingual. And if it isn't now, when they bring stuff out as an experiment, I would think it'd be happening pretty quickly. So what else we got for questions? How long have I been talking here? Again, I get going on this stuff. Rightly or wrongly, I really enjoy it, and there's lots of stuff to talk about. You know, you can get overwhelmed by it, and I get that. But if you don't play around with this and you don't experiment with it, you're going to get left behind, even if you think AI is wrong, because the rest of the world is going to do it with or without you. So at least try and stay up and think ahead of the curve and kind of let go of the way that you've done everything and just be open to playing around and trying stuff a little bit differently. You know, the cool one is that I hear all the time is people talking about, you know, the industrial revolution or the difference between, you know, going from horses to cars. A lot of people use these different examples. And the thing is that they took years to happen. And, you know, we're doing stuff now that in the last 2 years, if I look back from when we started prompting and how important prompting was, and now we're talking to an AI tool that is creating stuff for us. So that's in 2 years. And the thing that happens so quickly is the ability for this technology to get smarter and smarter and smarter is not in years, it's in months. So 6 months from now, a year from now, we're going to be in a completely different space. And if you're hanging on to the past, unfortunately, I think you're going to get kind of left behind. And that's, you know, that's fine. It's up to you if you want to do that. There's some people that want to do that. That's cool. But if you're starting, building, and growing an education business, we're kind of stuck. So that's why I focus on it. and have some fun with all of these things. So who else is here? Anyone else here? Any more questions? Hope you enjoyed this stuff. Again, I do it as often as I can. 11 people on. If there's no more questions, I'll bring it in for a landing. Um, Actually, I will. Is Doug still on? Give me a thumbs up, Doug, if you're still on. Um, one of the things I get asked about is creating custom GPTs from time to time. And again, custom GPTs are similar. If you go to, I'll just open this one up here. Uh, uh, we've gone from line by line coding, low code, no code, voice to an app in 1 year. Yeah, absolutely. This is just a perfect example of how quickly stuff is happening. And here's the one that I'm excited about for the next year. And again, this is me just guessing. This is me guessing. I've been reading a lot. I was really disappointed with Apple. Personally, I was disappointed. I was always using like a Windows PC and Android phones, everything like that, and all my kids were on Apple devices, so Apple Watches, iPhones, Macs, everything like that. And finally, they were bugging me, and they did it. And then all of this AI stuff came out, and then Siri never really worked well. I tried it, but it was clunky. And then all of this AI stuff came out, and then Apple, like, where are they? I haven't seen them in 2 years doing anything. However, having said that, I've been reading a lot lately about the fact that they're not going to focus on the AI part or the software part. They are actually going to be focusing on the consumer hardware part, and they're going to try and get all of the devices that are AI enabled or AI first devices, and they're treating them as consumer items. So I wouldn't be surprised, again, just me guessing here, postulating is that the Apple announcements, I think, are in September or August 30th or something for the new hardware. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a whole bunch of AI enabled hardware pieces coming out. There was actually one, let me just pull this one up here. Actually, something came out last, uh, I put it actually in the site here. Let me just show you this. And again, you can read the article on this one, but at the trainingsites.io site, the people that had GenSpark, I'll pull this one up. And again, I mentioned GenSpark earlier, but in GenSpark, they had the two, or was it Manus? Can't remember. Let me do this one here. I think it was general discussion. Again, can't find it. There's comment. Where's the ones that I wanted? Yeah, there's the $1 billion. They've got Learn LM. That was the one on Google there. Again, you can click on the link that's there. Again, I wish I could find this one. The reason I'm mentioning it is because Opal, one I want to play with, there's one that had, one of the companies had a wristwatch that's coming out. So this is one where you've got an AI on your wristwatch. So you remember, Get Smart, if you're old enough to remember Maxwell Smart talking to his wristwatch. iPhone, Android phone, AI built into it. Eyeglasses, AI built into it. Pendant, AI built onto it. Bracelet, understands motion, AI built into it. Um, I even heard Eric Schmidt, one of the things I was talking about, that other one is I think the software industry is going to have a problem because everything is just going to be AI and agents and asking something to be done instead of logging into a piece of software to do something. It's just, hey, this is the task that I need done. This is what I need done. I want an appointment booked with here. I want you to send an email to so-and-so. I want you to put the marketing campaign together. I want you to send, 7 social media marketing pieces. I want you to create a web app for the lesson that I'm about to teach. I want you to mark the quizzes. I want you to do that stuff. Do you log into a piece of software to do that? Or do you talk to an AI agent and just say, hey, this is my AI agent. I know what it likes, or it knows what I like. It's done the work for me once or twice, been trained, go and do it. And even some of the tools that are available now, like Claude and ChatGPT with the connectors, they're connecting to your Gmail. They're reading your email. all sorts of stuff. And again, this is just me kind of going crazy with all of it, but this is coming quickly. And again, education space, courses, static courses, gonna have to think outside of the box kind of moving forward there. Yeah, so Anthony, hey, thanks for coming on. Um, Finally got into live chat. What age school level do you think would be appropriate to start teaching AI usage? Thank you. Um, yeah, so here we go. I don't have I have a personal opinion on that. I don't have any crystal ball or anything with school. I know personally, this is an interesting question. Again, I know personally, brand new grandparent, okay? So this is kind of the perspective that I'm putting it in. Got a brand new grandparent, and the kids, like my kids now, they're like anti-screen, right? You got a new kid, it's like, don't put the screen in front of them. Like, don't try and entertain them with a screen. And then you have, you go to the grocery store, you go shopping, and then there's like a kid in the buggy that's got like an iPad in their face the whole time. So they're not yelling or screaming. So I think there's two different groups of people growing up, and where AI fits into that. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if there's a right or a wrong. Having said that, the part that I read from Apple was that the Apple Home is one of the places where they're going to be bringing out a lot of new hardware, and all of that is AI enabled. So some of the things that people as teenagers slash younger kids under 10 are going to be growing up with is AI is going to be embedded in all of the things that they do as a regular part of living, and not of, here, I'm logging into a website. So even Gemini, for example, Google, and this is why I think Google is so well placed, is that when you're using the regular tools that you do, whether it's your phone or your watch or Google Sheets, a piece of software, or doing search, Gemini is being interwoven into those ones, and you're not going to log into something. And I think that's going to be the same thing that's happening with the younger kids when you're saying, no, don't use AI, or you're not allowed to use AI, or don't learn how to prompt, because they're going to be talking to these tools and interfacing with these tools verbally, and just the stuff that they do around the house. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen there. It's going to be interesting. Some people are going to close stuff down and then just kind of, hey, I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want my kids involved in that, but I don't think you're not going to be involved in it. And there's obviously some choices you have to make personally on what kind of involvement that you want to be doing it. And I can just imagine, kids at the grocery store, and they're not having an iPad in their face, but they're talking to their watch. They're not talking to their brother or sister or their parents or whoever they're with. It's like they're talking to their watch, or they're got some glasses on. They don't need glasses, and they're actually talking to a companion or an assistant or something about schoolwork or what friends are doing or companions. Again, tough questions. I wish I knew the answers to them, but it's going to be interesting. If it's in school, I would. Here's one again. I've showed this one before. If you haven't seen it before, just to give you an example, and Doug, I'll get to you with custom GPTs in a minute. Yeah. So here's the one to go check out. And again, this one I think is high school, not elementary school. But this one is newviewschool.org. It's in Boston. And the way that they do this one is they actually let people, the content teaching is done on AI for 2 hours in the morning. So they don't have a traditional classroom at all. And there we go. So we'll go through this as an example. So what happens is that they work in teams, in project teams. And again, they start at 9. They work in studios, and the first 2 hours every day are devoted to studios. Students leave the focus on coursework, seminars, and workshops to simply continue working on the projects. And the way that they do this is they don't do a class, they do a project each trimester that is multidisciplined, and they actually work on it in groups. They do AI agents slash tutors that they work with to clarify things and learn content that's appropriate about the project that they're doing. And then after, they have to do a presentation at the end of the term about their project. And then they have Each studio has, they're 3 to 4 week studio sessions, pardon me. I thought they were trimesters. And then they have an exhibit day about what they actually did. So this is a new type of schooling that I guess they're using here. And they're like all AI, all in. Everything is in on that. The other one that I did a video on, and I think it's this one actually. Let me just find the one. Yeah, I don't have it in front of me right now, but if in San Diego, there's a San Diego University that is a test case for the Gemini Learn from Google. And what happens to them is they have a lockdown version of Gemini, but every student in the university has their own Gemini account. They have their Google Suite, the Gemini account. All of the profs do, all of the students do. So everyone's using AI, everyone's using Gemini, and they're letting the students play around with it and use it. That's higher education. That new V1 is they're doing a little bit of a, kind of a AI flipped classroom or blended learning where it's not course first and lecture. It's like AI and experiment is kind of the place that it's going or working on those ones. Um, US dollar has, yeah, so US dollar has RFIs on AI literacy. It's coming quickly. Yeah, very quickly. The part that I think is holding it back, and this is kind of the other thing that's interesting, is when I went to this thing with Eric Schmidt here, and and the biggest part or the biggest problem with AI, and he was talking about this, and Eric Schmidt is the guy who was head of Google for a long time. I really like some of the stories he was telling, but he says the biggest limiter on AI is the electricity needed to do all the computes on it. And that's why they're trying to put in all of these huge data centers and they're having trouble with it is because of the electricity that's being involved. Um, that's why I'm really happy that I'm in Canada as an example, because we have unlimited electricity. A lot of places are still having to deal with how do you actually get free slash easy to get unlimited electricity that doesn't require any of the carbon fuels, anything like that. So the big problem they're having is the compute and the cooling. And again, that's the limit or the thing that's going to slow it down, not the technology, but the data centers. And I know in the States, the AI literacy stuff they did. I know Canada has a whole thing about the nuclear reactors they're building out and the electricity from Quebec, which is free in Quebec. They don't pay for electricity. There's all of this stuff for all the data centers. Again, understanding AI, having their infrastructure for it, everyone's racing billions and billions of dollars going into it, which is kind of cool. Yeah, NuView is kind of awesome. That one, there's a whole bunch in that one as well. So, Doug, one of the questions that Doug had here, and thank you for sticking around, Doug, is that sometimes when you find something that's repetitive that you always have to do on a regular basis, one of the things that you can do, and one of the things I recommend doing, is if you go to ChatGPT, and I'll just open up an account here so that you can see it. But if you go to ChatGPT and you open it up, one of the things you can do on the left-hand side, you're going to see these things called GPTs. And basically, what a GPT is it is a standalone chat that has two unique things to it. It has a series of prompts or boundaries that is about the chat, and it is trained to only use or interact with those boundaries and the context that it has provided or it is provided. So instead of going to ChatGPT, you basically open up a custom GPT, and there's a ton of them here as an example. So all sorts of different ones that you can do. So Scholar GPT was one here. Humanize one, it's about, hey, make sure that my content comes out in a human fashion, or there's thousands of them that are available. But you can create your own GPTs for tasks that you do on a regular basis. And one of the things that I did for mine is I created one up here. You see in the upper right hand corner, my GPTs. I created a couple, and one of them was 6 steps to make a great YouTube video. I had title. I had GPT instruction writer. So this is a GPT that writes or allows you to write custom GPTs. So these ones are available, and I'll give you those ones. Pivot your business model, how to get ready for a call, cozy mystery workshop. These are some ones that I put together. There's the how to get ready for a Zoom call was one. Let me see if I've got the one that I wanted to. I had one on YouTube videos, and I think it was, yeah. So this is one here, and I'm just going to show you how these work so that you can see this. So what happens is when you create a YouTube video or even a course, for example, um, what I did is I wanted to have a way, instead of me having to reprompt everything, find a prompt that I used in the past, give it some context, make sure that it understands what the video is about. This basic one then said, I'm just going to put in a on Google's new notebook LM feature that creates videos, that creates explainer videos. Now I put a couple different kind of starter prompts here, but I'm going to put this in, and the custom GPT is going to ask me some questions so that it has some more context. And again, you can create these for anything. And it gave it enough context, and it basically put together. And I said when I did this, what I want is I want a title, I want thumbnail text, I want you to rate them or scale them on curiosity, relevance, emotion, SEO, clarity, and create a score for them. So it's going to create 15 different combinations, and it's got a scoring chart of which are the ones that score the highest and which are the ones don't. And then the refined suggestions. And I can say, well, combine these two, or it says, do you want to refine them or do you want to mix and match them and put them together? So this is a custom GPT that is a specific task, which is creating video thumbnail titles and text and scoring them. And you can create them on anything that you want. And the way that you do it is when you're in this GPTs thing, up in the right-hand corner, there's one called Create. You just click create it, and you can go through these steps and actually go through, and you'll be able to create it here on the right hand side. And again, I have videos on this. I'm going to show you the links in a second. The cool thing is, and this is the part that I do, is you've got a description here, but it says instructions, right? So instead of putting instructions in, what I do is I go to another window of ChatGPT and I say, hey, I'm creating a custom GPT and I want it to be able to do this, that, the other thing in this context. Write me instructions that I can give while I'm creating a custom GPT. And then I just paste it in. So I don't come up with the instructions. I ask ChatGPT to create instructions for me that I can put into the custom GPT. And then I say, what are 10 starter questions I can ask the user that will give me or create better responses? And then knowledge base. This is where you can add all of the context, whether they be PDF documents, transcripts, text, I think they do. I'm not sure the other ones that they do now. Spreadsheets, presentations. So when it's responding on your content. So if you have slide decks or things that you've done in the past, or documents or books you've written, or transcripts from courses, and you want to create a custom GPT about anything, you can say, hey, put in my files, and it will reference that all of the time. So that's how you can create them on your own, and you can create as many as you want. You can make them public and private, and there's even a couple places where they have directories where you can sell these. And in fact, that's one of the things that I did on one of the sites here. If I go to, just go actually to, I have on the right-hand side here, well, I started to embed that one in. Let me go here. We'll go to the prompt library. Should be in the right-hand side. Did I put shop in there? Yeah. So one of the examples I did is I have a couple for sale, just that I played around with. So there's some for free, and then I did a couple that were for sale. So there's the YouTube click generator, which is the one about creating the YouTube videos. Here's another one about the advanced GPT builder. This one was just a free one to start. So you can download these ones. You can go and get this one if you want. Excuse me. And then you can log into your account and just click on the link and it'll ask you to log into your account and go through it and it'll create GPTs for you. So instead of doing what I did, it actually goes through and creates it for you. So those are a couple that I did. So custom GPTs are a real easy way to fine tune your work and keep it consistent so that every time you create a YouTube video, you use the same process and you get similar results. So there's consistency. If you're writing Q&As or if you're writing an email newsletter or if you're writing something like that, you can use custom GPTs to be able to do that. And again, the cool thing, of course, is when we get the agents, you can just say, hey, use my custom GPT to create 7 blog posts, or use my custom GPT to build out the marketing campaign for this. And it's gone and it's done. It's not you logging in and answering the questions, it's the agent going and actually using the tools that you've already created. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Do you remember brought up? Yes. Yeah, there's bought it by Microsoft for AI usage in Pennsylvania. Yeah, and I know even the things with heat. I know Microsoft had that whole thing um, with their data centers underwater. They're in the Pacific where it's colder to have trouble with managing all the heat that's generated. And again, the modular, I think they're called in Canada. There's a they had one that's something a modular one. They're just really small, quick ones to build. So I know those ones they're building those ones as quickly as they can do in a lot of places to be able to support it. So how long did I talk here? An hour and a half again. Sorry if I got ranting about it. I just get excited about this. Hopefully there was some value there. If you look at this and you're going, hey, I think I better stay in touch with all of the stuff that's happening, at least be open to it. I would love for you to join the community and share all of your stories, the stuff that you've been doing, and just share it with other people. And let's kind of work through this. And if you do want to upgrade and work one-on-one during these working sessions that I do, please just make sure and go join trainingsites.io/join. And the live classes that we have here on the left-hand side, these are the ones that are locked for the VIPs. And if you try and open one of these ones, it's going to say, hey, you got to pay a little bit of extra money. So that's basically where I make some money here. Right now, I have 2 membership levels. This is my quick sales pitch here. Again, these are for all the live sessions. I give away my content, except for a couple custom GPTs and maybe some frameworks moving forward because I have some new ones coming out. But this is where we just basically do live classes and work on stuff. And I'd love to have you as a paid community member, VIP. Right now I have $97 a month and annually is $9.97 a month. I don't know if I'm going to do the monthly. I'm just going to look for people that, want to go all in on this and work on it in the small groups here in the group. So that's where it is. I'd love to have you join up, spend some time with you and share your stories about this exciting journey that we're going to have. So okay. Any more questions? Last one, then I'll go. Kelly Kerr, your information changing the courses of my life. Yeah, yeah. This is exciting times for follically challenged people that have been around for a little while. But any of these over 40 creators that have been in the space for a little bit, regular internet businesses where they have a whole bunch of experience, this is just going to be an absolute blast moving forward. And There's going to be lots of people struggling, and there's going to be lots of people who are going to hit it off really well at the start. And I think there's going to be a really, really large group of people who are just going to have the time of their lives experimenting with all of this stuff and not getting overly hung up on, I got to earn $1 billion by doing no work and building out some AI tool because someone said I could do it on an ad on Facebook. So people who are young are just getting into it. It's going to seem like, hey, cool, I understand it. Yeah, I get it. There's people who are in the middle-aged stuff are saying, how can I monetize it? And then there's other people that are looking at it and say, how can I share and teach all of my experience and probably make some money too? But it'll be maybe a little bit less of a focus on that. exciting times. Again, if you're creating courses, think bigger. Think bigger than courses. Please, other ways to monetize your experience. And I think the big one, again, just me, I think the big one is actually talking to real live people and being able to charge for your time and all of that expertise that you've earned through skinning your knees over the last 20 years in business or in something other than business, whether it be a craft or hobby or something you have experience on. So hope you enjoyed it. Again, name is James, trainingsites.io. Like and subscribe to the channel, join the campus and community. I'll be back again Wednesday every week at 1 o'clock, do these live streams, and I'd love to learn more about what you're doing. So take care. Expect the best. We'll be back next week.